call this special meeting to order. Will you please stand and join me in prayer and then in the pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, first of all, Lord, we continue to thank you, Lord, and we continue to give you the praise, the glory, and the honor. Father, we do want to thank you for this community. We continue to pray for the Panhandle. Father, we continue to ask that you be with us, Lord, as we rebuild, restore, Lord God, and we just continue to pray for the people, Lord God. We continue to lift them up, Lord. We ask that you continue to encourage them, Lord, as we go down this road. Father, we just pray that they will be encouraged, Lord. And we just thank you, Lord God, for all the many hands that have been here to help support this community, the Panhandle. We continue to pray for this nation. Continue to pray for the leaders that you have placed in authority over us all, Lord. Father, we do pray for the tragedy that happened in California, Lord. We pray for those families, Lord, and we just pray and ask that you be with those people, Lord, as they go through this hurtful time. We continue to lift up the United States of America. We speak your blessings upon it all. We give you praise, we give you glory, we give you the honor. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the November 8th, 2018 special meeting. We're going to follow the agenda as printed. So first up, we have item A, budget reductions. Mr. Hammond, we're going to let you drive this train on this.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I gave you two handouts, hot off the press. Now, let me see one of mine. All right, we're going to start with the 11/8/18, the one that has $3.2 million at the bottom of it. That's the negative number. Over the last week or so, Sherry's been crunching numbers. We've made some good faith estimates after talking to the property appraiser, after going through our budget numbers. So we've made some, these are not the worst case scenarios. They're certainly not the best case scenarios, but this makes a couple assumptions. This makes an assumption that we have a 20% reduction in the current value of your meal. It could be a little bit less. I'm hoping it is. It could be more. It also assumes that you have a 10% reduction in your non-ad valorem revenues. This is probably a very conservative number, but it's bad enough at the bottom line. Let me give you a couple examples of that. In rough terms, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Houston, we spend about $1.5 million on ambulance service. We used to lose $1 million a year on ambulance service 10 years ago. Houston's trimmed that number substantially, probably $250,000 now if you count everything. The number one ambulance address is 229th Street. 229th Street's the nursing home. That's probably 20% of Houston's calls, roughly, I would say. They're out of business for the time being, and they may be out of business for 6 or 8 months. So our call volume, even though they're our cheapest payer because it's Medicaid and Medicare rate, the call volume for EMS is going to shrink. Mexico Beach has been devastated. We do a lot of calls in Mexico Beach, and I don't know what that call volume is. It's probably 5%. It's going to shrink. Until we get our tourist base back, that's another huge chunk of our call volume. So our costs are pretty much fixed. We're not laying off any employees today, but our revenue is going to be adversely affected. Now, overall, we tried to look at everything. Sales tax revenue, building department revenue, which may even have a bump before the end of this fiscal year. But huge chunk of revenue, over $1 million, is EMS. That could be half, maybe more. So what we've given you on this sheet is we believe that on October 1 of next year, without any changes, we will have a deficit of $3.2 million from where we are today. In order to soften the blow of extremely hard decisions next year, we need to make some decisions this year to soften the blow next year. So what I'm proposing to you is this. On the second page, this is a pretty much across the board 4% reduction, but there's some caveats, so I want to read this for the record. I'm proposing a 4% reduction for all constitutional officers and all Board of County Commissioners budgets with a couple of caveats. Outside contracts, we included mainly the sheriff. This will soften his blow by a little bit, $12,000 or $15,000, but he has contracts with the school board that are set. They may change them and we have to adjust later, but right now we wouldn't take 4% of that $300,000 contract from the school board or that contract with the city or the city of Wewell. That's set, so it's just what the board funds the sheriff. And there's maybe a little quirk with the tax collectors as well, but for the most part, 4% across the board. Outside agencies, we would cut 10% across the board, with one exception, and that would be the Florida Department of Health. That would stay at 4%. Certain specific budgets under your line item that I would have control over, like courthouse utilities, like medical examiner contract. There's really no reason to cut the medical examiner contract because it's a flat fee that we pay Bay County for that. So if we cut it, we just got to pull it from reserves later. So if you give me the leeway on those particular set contracts, the bottom line would be a reduction of about $800,000. This sheet shows you 766, so I've still got to cut another 35 or 40. At the present time, we don't anticipate laying off any current employees. We're not filling vacant positions. We're not rehiring folks that retire or quit. We believe that this is a prudent way to save $800,000. If we take this reduction and roll that money forward and don't fund the same 4% next year, that's really $1.6 million. So you've cut half of what your shortfall is projected to be. So I need a motion for those two things: cut the constitutional officers and board budget by 4% across the board, and outside agencies other than the Florida Department of Health by 10%, effective immediately.
Okay, all right. Board members, before we make the motion, y'all got any questions for Mr. Hammond?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rich, second by Commissioner McCrone. Go ahead, Mr. McCrone.
Michael, just so we're clear, we're asking our constitutional officers to cut 4%. The county board ought to cut 4%. Just want to make sure we're going to cut any unnecessary travel, as far as out of county travel, whatever. I mean, it's just that time we don't have any choice. We got to do what we got to do.
We're already cutting some.
Okay.
I'm sending. I was planning on going to Tampa next 2 weeks or whatever. Mr. Yeager's going for me. There is some necessary travel that we're going to have, and it's important now to go to some. But all unnecessary travel is going to be cut. That's correct.
And maybe we can send 1 or 2 people instead of sending 4 or 5 or what So, but my second stance.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, any further discussion? Yes, sir. Commissioner McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to you and Commissioner Rich over here, and I guess for myself too. We've got a good board here. We need a board of this makeup for what we're addressing right here. We need seasoned people. We've got them, and we can move forward. I worked with a budget. I have for the past 7 years, and we always had this in the back of our mind. We had good smooth sailing, but we never knew when we were going to hit a bump in the road. And people, let me tell you, we've hit a bad bump with this Hurricane Michael. This natural disaster has hit us. And we're going to try, this board with our staff, everyone's going to have to give a little or tighten their belt a little where we can all come through this. We're not going to just go over here and wipe one whole group out to keep this. We're all going to have to make a few sacrifices, and being mature people and understanding, I think we'll be in agreement on all of that. A lot of people have lost, they worked all their life for things, and they devastated and don't know where to turn, what to do. But anyway, we're trying to where we won't hit the next year. Our little old county this year, we reduced the millage rate just a small amount, what, $600,000 or something. But we're looking at next year to run smooth, we'd have to jump the millage rate up to probably 10 mills, the max the state allow, without going before the Florida legislature and getting approved, and we don't want to do that. And I think by us good, tight, close management, we can come through this thing and come out on the other end in good shape. But, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that, and, it's gonna hit us all. We're just gonna have to tighten up and do better.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for you allowing me the time.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Rich, second by Commissioner McCrone. If there's no other board discussion, anyone in the public on this? All right, any opposition to that motion? Motion passes 5-0.
If the board give me the approval on all board and administrative budgets to make further cuts as I deem necessary, in addition to that, I'd need a motion for that.
All right. I entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rogers. Any further board discussion on that? All right, anyone in the public on this? Anyone in the public? All right, any opposition to the motion? All right, motion passes 5-0.
Just had a extremely positive meeting with Jason Schoaf about the Triumph process. The chairman, Mr. Yeager, and Mr. Madison and I met with him just prior to this meeting. Need permission from the board to allow the county and potentially the city of Port St. Joe in a joint application to apply for two specific things. And we don't know if it'll work yet or not, but to apply for a stopgap funding, basically for up to 10 years for lost ad valorem tax rate. The basis behind that in the statute allows for the reduction of ad valorem taxes. The county would agree that we would leave the millage rate the same and not bring in more money than what the ad valorem taxes were this particular year at 7.1 mils. But of course, I just told you we're losing $3.2 million. So if you would allow us the ability to put that application in to see if the Triumph board would look favorably toward that. Also, the city of Port St. Joe could piggyback with us on that application if they so desired, because I know a lot of their revenues from utilities and whatnot are going to be way short because of the storm. In addition to that, we had some discussion about the water and sewer tap fees from the city of Port St. Joe for these folks that are setting up temporary housing, and for businesses to allow the application to go in for the Triumph board to pay for the sewer and water taps for these folks, impact fees for these folks.
Motion. I'll give you a motion on that.
All right, motion by Commissioner McCrone.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rogers. Any further board discussion on this?
Yes, one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
And I clearly understand you said to retain the millage rate at the 7.1.
That's correct. If we were able to
With
get
this.
money from Triumph, we would have to agree not to raise the millage rate if they gave us the money that we were losing from that.
Okay.
And again, we're not positive that's going to work, but we're going to
We're gonna try. All right. Thank you.
All right, any further board discussion? All right, just the echoes, like I say, I just want to thank Jason for, meeting with us this morning, and along with staff and Michael. I think they came out with a great idea to help the city and the county also. So I think if it goes through, like what we talked about, I think it's a win for the county and the city. So we'll pray hard on this, and hopefully that we'll get a good answer. I mean, Jason was confident, so I think it'll help tremendously for the city and the county. So appreciate Jason willingness to meet with us and kind of brainstorm some ideas. Any further board discussion? Anyone in the public on this? Anyone in the public? All right, any opposition to that motion? All right, motion passes 5-0, sir.
All right, we've got, I'm sorry, that's all I have on the first.
Okay. All right, item B. All right.
Item B, we've got several things here. Brett's got a couple of forms that the chairman needs to sign. These are the destroyed vehicles. We had a fire truck and several destroyed vehicles that were flooded, TDC, administration, and the fire department. So I think, is it 8? Eight. Need a motion for the board to, the insurance has totaled these vehicles, but in order to transfer them out, we need to motion to junk them. Okay.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner McDaniel, second by Commissioner Rogers. Any further board discussion on this? All right, anyone in the public on this? All right, any opposition to the motion? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, I'm going to turn to Mr. Collinsworth and let him give you an update on a couple of the buildings that we had bad damage, and I'm going to have a recommendation on the Weewalt Courthouse.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We have went through in the last couple of weeks, we have 218 county structures in the county now that's under the board. After review of all the buildings and structures, I would say probably 3/4 of them have damage on them. Some much worse than others. Of course, the old courthouse in Weewalt is going to be the top one. Had some library roofs, stuff around the courthouse. Had a very good meeting with our insurance adjuster, with Brett. And of course, it's going to take everybody working together, but my suggestion would be to allow us to make a list of all the buildings, put them in priority of which ones need to be worked first. As the insurance money comes in, those ones we will be doing first, and just work down the list and check them off. And of course, last meeting you guys had suspended the bid policy, which is going to be good to help us. If not, it would take forever to have this stuff fixed. But there's a lot of damage to county buildings, several $1 million worth. And that will be my suggestion, to allow us to put them in order of damage and priority, and let's work on those buildings first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Hammond?
One of the very big damages was to the Weewalt Courthouse. We have tried over the years to transfer that to the city of Weewalt, to transfer that to the Historical Society, to transfer that to a nonprofit set up by North Florida Head Start. It hasn't happened. We have a lease with them right now that's still, I think we're 6 years in or 5 years in to a 10-year lease for $1. The building is in horrible condition, and had a tower go through 2 stories of part of the building, had the roof damage. It's got feet of water in the basement. It's unsafe. It's got mold. It's got electrical issues. So these are my recommendations. It's not going to be popular, but we need to terminate that lease immediately. We need to cut off the power. We need to cordon off the building and get all those folks, if there are any left, there were some yesterday working in there, out of that building because it's unsafe. That would be my first recommendation. My second recommendation would be to still offer to transfer that building to that nonprofit. Ms. Sharon Gaskin has tirelessly worked on this, and I think Patria Malden has worked on it, but the county, one, doesn't have the money to put in that building. We have a lot more high priorities for active county buildings. It's a beautiful building. It's a historical building, but we could sink $1 million in that building, and it's not going to help the overall grand scheme of county services today. So again, I know it's not a popular thing to do, but it is not safe for folks to be in that building right now until it's fixed, and the county doesn't have the money or the time to fix it. So I would recommend those 2 things: terminate that lease, but still offer to transfer that to that nonprofit if they so desire in the future.
Okay. All right. What's the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman, that old building means a lot to me. My family helped in the location of this county back in 1925. My grandfather's brother was state senator from Calhoun to form this county. I'd like to ask this board, we have a meeting coming up on the 27th. We just postpone this until I wanna go back and do some talking and looking, and I know, I've been up there, it's got major damage, but some way, I don't wanna see it just crumble. A lot of history there, but, let's delay let's just delay a vote on this till I'll put that in a motion until our regular, November meeting.
Okay, all right. So we got a motion.
second it.
Got a motion to table.
Discussion.
All right, by Commissioner McDaniel, second by Commissioner Rich, and, Mr. McCrone, you got the floor.
Mr. McDaniel, the only thing that concerns me, and I'll ask Michael, is people being in that building if it's unsafe at this time. That's my only concern, if you got people working in that building.
All right, I can modify that, we can go ahead and do that, but to just,
you know.
completely, but I wanna go back and talk to some people, and I don't want them to come down and say, well, the board just whacked.
No, no,
that,
I-
didn't
no.
ask anybody, I wanna go back and talk with the people on it.
And I think you should be able to do that.
All right, if we need
But-
to,
but-
the building is, where's Mr. Mr. Collinsworth? Is the building is safe? You're with the building department. What's your feelings on that to get the people out of there? I know we don't want them in there with mold, and I know it's gonna have mold. It's already got mold in it.
It absolutely does. We spent an hour or so, went through every inch of that building yesterday. You've got some major electrical problems in there. You've got some mold problems in there. There is water down in the basement where all the electric panels are at that has to be moved. You're gonna end up, once you really get into it, I did see some structural issues inside and on the outside. You're going to have to get some engineers in there. You're actually probably going to end up having to do some lead and asbestos abatement. I would definitely agree with Mr. Hammond that I would not have anybody in that building as of right now.
Okay.
All right. All right, so you're gonna amend your motion.
Yes, we can vacate, but the final decision, I'd like to
Okay.
ask,
So we got all right, so we got a motion to table, but we want to go ahead on and evacuate, to get everybody out the building. All right. That's ASAP. Okay, all right. Mr. Rich, your second still stands?
Yes, sir.
All right, any further board discussion? Anyone in the public on this? Anyone in the public? Chair recognizes Mr. Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I don't usually get up and say this, but I think that in his motion should include turning off the electricity. If the power and everything
It's
is that
underwater.
unsafe,
The power is in the
electricity
basement.
needs to be cut at the same time to protect whoever might sneak in there under the radar.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Yes, the main power supply is in the basement, and the basement's flooded. It probably has water in some of the electrical components.
All right. I'm assuming they're gonna go ahead on, I mean, we need that in the motion to kill the power? Okay. All right. All right, motion, anybody else in the public on this? All right. All right, any opposition to that motion? All right, motion passes 5-0. All right. Item number C.
We'll give an update on Hurricane Michael, and I think we can do a couple things at this time. One, we need to lift the burn ban and go back to the normal procedure, which means that if you want to burn, other than in a burn barrel, you have to permit that through the state. You have to call, make sure that it's good, follow the normal procedures for having a fire. The reason we had to put this in because we were having no water pressure, no water in certain areas, no power in certain areas, no way to fight a fire. People have to be responsible, but we're back to the point now that if they follow the proper procedures, that it would be safe to move forward with that. So the board voted to institute the burn ban about the second day into the storm, so we just need a motion to lift that and go back to normal procedure.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, I entertain a motion to lift the burn ban.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rich. Any further board discussion?
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Rogers.
We need to make sure the public is aware that, the debris pickup is still going on. Don't, just because the burn's been lifted, don't go out there and start piling stuff up and setting it on fire. You put it out. The people are still gonna come around for the next month at least, or maybe a lot longer, and get the debris. So you don't have to start burning debris just because we lifted the. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, let me
Yes, sir.
echo
Mr.
on that
McDaniel.
too. I know I sound like a broken record up here thinking that, but, you have to, I know the city of Port St. Joe has a no burning in the city, and, is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
You don't burn in the city of St. Joe, so you gotta follow the policy. We were Hitchcock, you can burn, but under certain conditions, you have to have a pressurized hose, it must be attended, you can't burn rubber, plastic, strictly yard leaves and little yard limbs, and that's what we're going back. If you're gonna do any burning, you better get your permit from the Division of Forestry. So as Mr. Hammond plainly stated, we'll go back to the procedures, so you have to follow the procedures on this thing, but we didn't have water, and we got it now. You better get your permit now. I'm telling everybody, oh, the board said we can burn. No, the board's not saying you can burn, the board's saying you follow the policy.
Right.
Let me ask you this, and I talked to some of the forestry guys, they're very concerned with fire. I don't know at this time that you'll even get a burn permit.
Well, that's up to them, they
Right,
control
right,
that. You gotta go
but
through
they're
that.
very concerned with any kind of fire right now, so.
But where you can, we can burn. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone in the public on this? All right. Any opposition to the motion? Motion passes 5-0.
We're gonna have a update next on the debris removal, but Ben, have you got anything to add on the storm?
I just want to echo what you all have said. It's very important that they get proper permitting, and yes, there's a large concern. It's the amount of dead vegetative stuff that's on the ground, and it can spread very quickly if a fire gets out of control. We've had a lot of volunteer organizations on the ground within the county. They're continuing to be here. We've got tens of thousands of volunteer hours, people that are working, trying to help. And one of our big concerns with all that is they are picking up a lot of stuff and moving it to the roadside, and we need people to be patient. The debris contractors are working as hard as they can go. If people will be patient, they will get there.
Thanks, sir. All right, we're still on D. Debris.
Debris.
Debris
I'm gonna
removal.
let Mr. Yeager introduce these folks, but before they come up, I just wanna make sure that we get a couple of the ground rules straight. We have two different groups. We have a state control group on 71, 22, and 98, and that's DRC, is that correct? DRC. And then Ashbrit has all the other county roads, including the private roads. They're gonna pick up in every community, whether it's a county road or a private road. You don't have to haul it out of your subdivision, even if you're in a private road subdivision. You just have to get it to the right of way, get it to the edge of the road. They're not gonna be gone anytime soon. There's no hurry. They're gonna make multiple passes, but there are some restrictions on what you can put out, and that's what, I'm gonna let Mr. Yeager bring them up, and they're gonna tell you what you can and can't do.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Danny with Ashbrit here today, and they have the contract. It's now an FDOT contract to take care of all county roads and debris removal and that type of thing. And I know all of you still get questions on what can be put beside the road and what are they going to get and how many passes and that type of thing. And if Danny, if you would come up and just let the board know where you're at as far as the debris cleanup and going forward and what is allowable.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
So to date in the county, we've hauled over 230,000 cubic yards. We have 40 trucks running throughout the whole county. It's all covered except the Cape. We haven't really made it to the Cape yet. I've driven it, and most of that is private. And the state DOT contractor is going to do the private stuff, not Ashbrit. So most of that is 90% private. A lot of people don't have room to stuff anything on them little dirt roads, so they are bringing it out. I mean, that's just going to happen. So to date, we are going to ramp up 2 more trucks today, so we're just going to keep ramping until we get to 50 to 60 trucks. We're going to start white goods tomorrow, and then I got 3 bucket trucks going to start in Overstreet area, because that's, got a lot of cutting that needs to be done on the right-of-ways there. So we're going to start on 386 and get into the neighborhoods and start doing cutting. And that's pretty much a snapshot. If you need more detail, you can get with you guys.
Danny,
If you will,
go ahead.
if you will, tell them what they cannot do on the.
Well, I actually should have Mr. Day with the metric folks, if you could, on houses being pushed to the street. I don't know if that's legal or illegal. I know they've done it in the past. We've done it in Katrina. They did it, and there was back and forth on that. So I don't know how it reads FEMA guidelines.
Can you come to the podium, please? Yeah, come on. Come on,
Please come to the podium.
Come on
Yeah.
to the podium.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have you at the podium. Just state your name for the record, too, who you represent also.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Commissioner, Madam Clerk. My name is Alan T. Bush, and I'm working with Metric Engineering on this project.
Okay.
I know a pretty good bit of y'all, but some of the questions that y'all have, I have as well, not just from a commissioner standpoint, but also from an employee with the metric standpoint. I just, on the housing,
Right.
I understand they're getting those 2 houses today.
Yeah, we're doing that, but I think locals are hiring contractors and pushing stuff, the whole house to the right of way. You know, I don't know if that's legal or illegal, FEMA guidelines. So I just know, I mean, I can find this out for us to get a definite answer. It won't take much.
We have been told that if it's in the right of way, that it can be picked up. We have houses we've already destroyed in the right of way and hauled off, but we have been told it is illegal for someone who has a house that's damaged to hire a contractor and tear that house down and then put it on the right of way. And that I've been told it won't be paid for or reimbursed by FEMA, and that it is illegal. And that's what we've been going on now. There's a lot of miscommunication, and that's why I want it to come from the horse's mouth on what is legal and what is not legal. And that's what our building department's been telling folks, and that's what we've been told as a county from FEMA folks. So, and that's the way we've been going forward. So we just need you to tell us if that's correct, and if it's not, you need to tell us that too.
Well, that's part of the holdup. FEMA doesn't like to pay for things that have already been paid for once. So in other words, that when you have a home, just like the 2 that were pushed in the right of way, when FEMA goes back, if they happen to look at that and they find out that an insurance company has paid for that house to be demolished, but yet it's been pushed in the right of way, and now it's being picked up as right of way debris, well then of course that's been covered double. They don't like paying for things that already been paid for one time. And that's where you'd get into your residential debris, or not residential, but your construction and demolition debris. If they've paid, if an insurance company has paid for that house to be demolished, and rather than the contractor taking and demolishing the house and handling all the debris, they elect just to push it onto the right of way, that very well could be ineligible because of that.
Let me ask you this question. If a contractor tears down a house at this point, has he got somewhere to haul that debris?
It's his responsibility to haul it.
I mean,
Yeah.
so that the contractors will know, I see some here, and just to be clear, they've got to know what to do for us.
Yeah, that's where you get into kind of a gray area, and a lot of that's case by case.
But
And
it's true, because some homeowners have the means to do their own work.
Mhm.
What if a homeowner does his own debris and pushes it to the roadside? If the house is 9% gone already, it's probably easier for him just to knock it down and push it to the right of way. So I think we just need to research and get some clarification on that.
right, and that was part of the issues with those 2 houses.
Yeah.
Even though the family trust had signed off that it was okay to get them, there was also issues about, you know, the insurance requirements and a lot of other things like that. But I understand we're getting those 2.
Yeah, we're gonna get the houses in the street.
Right.
I think they were talking about people doing demos and pushing it to the right
Pushing
of
it to the
way.
right way, yep.
Contractors.
And that's very well could be ineligible again if that homeowner has received compensation from an insurance company to demolish the house, and as part of that demolition, the contractor is responsible for taking and removing the debris.
All right, guys, now this is, we had this meeting specifically to give an answer, and let me just say, because it's impossible, the county's not gonna be on the hook for this, but if it's a situation where the county and the city need to request that they pay for all of it, because I can tell you, I mean, you'd be a fool if your neighbor can push it to the side of the road and get it for free and save $10,000, And I pay for mine to be torn down, because there's hundreds of homes that need to be torn down that are gutted all through the city. So if it's a situation where the county needs to request FEMA to pay for all of it, then we will do that. But our building department and me, and what I've been told by FEMA is, it's ineligible. If a contractor puts it on the side of the road, it's illegal. Not yard debris, not limbs, not all those things, that's perfectly fine. But if you tear down a house and put it on the side of the road, that is felony dumping, illegal, and they won't pay for it. Now, again, it's going to be DOT's responsibility to figure out if they're going to pay them and reimburse them, but we need to give the best information to our citizens. Do they have to pay to haul it off, or do they not have to? And that's the question we need answered from y'all, if you understand what I'm asking.
I do. It
Okay.
sounds like you got an answer from FEMA, and I would sure wouldn't go against that answer, because they are the ultimate ones with a billfold in their pocket. So I sure wouldn't go against them. And
But if
and
you,
he'll tell you, in different storms, their policies tend to run a little different. Well, things that allow in one storm, they may not allow in the next storm. And because of the amount of devastation here, it could be that actually would allow it. Have y'all applied for a public property debris removal?
we have applied for, we have been told we have got it, we haven't had any paperwork on it, that they're going to clean 100 feet around the homes on the ones that signed the waiver, okay? And we applied for that early on. But if it's a situation where you think there's any possibility that the public can get this debris removal for free, we'll request that blanket for everybody, because I can tell you that there are a lot of folks, whether they hire a contractor or not, that didn't have flood insurance, that have lost everything. I mean, they can be comfortably retired, but they still lost a couple $100,000 house. There's no reason, if there's any chance that we can get this service for them for free, then we'll ask for it. And then they can formally tell us no. We've just been told that it's illegal.
For a contractor.
For a contractor to do it. Well, 99% of them going to hire a contractor one way or the other. I mean, to tear down a house. It's going to be, they may not have a contract, but I mean, so if, I see Mr. Brock back there, he's in the land clearing business and the grading business. I'm sure he'll give a good price, but the problem is, he may knock down a house for $1,500, $2,000, but it'll cost $10,000 to haul that house off. I mean, for the tipping fee and whatnot. So it's something we really need to get the answer correct, because again, tear down 1,000 houses, that's a heck of a lot of tipping fee.
Now, on the right of entry program, that does happen. Demos do happen, along with the hazardous trees.
Let me, go ahead, Mr. McDaniel.
All right, thank you. Alan, Dan, what we're discussing here, I live in the north end. We did not receive the structural damage that the good people here in St. Joe's suffered. And a lot of this we're talking about, I've seen so many houses, and right out on the beach, and I can't even get over it, but there's some of them, they got to come down. There's no thing about it. But we lucked out in the north end. We didn't have the water damage. We had high wind damage, tree damage mostly, but we got a lot of blue roofs up there. But we have a lot of the houses that made it, and even trailers. Surprised me, some of the trailer houses stood there and never moved an inch, and some of the houses got pushed over. But I think our biggest problem is what this concern is probably here within the city of Port St. Joe and out on the beach areas out here. There's just a lot of damaged houses. But there is a question, what do we do? Where does Mr. Brock, I'm just using him because I know him and he's sitting back here, where does he carry his debris?
Commissioner McDaniel,
Yes, sir.
I will work with your county administrator, and between him and I, we can go to FEMA and ask for a very specific and clear answer.
Please.
I doubt we'll get it that easy, but we can try.
All right.
And give them, real world examples. This is what we got,
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. McDaniel. Mr. McCormick.
So that Alan Brock knows, if he tears down a house today, have we got a site that he could haul that debris to?
A lot of houses down here. One last thing, Dan, and hold your hands up and say this. when we get through with the county roads, you're with the county and the cities, that we will, and what's that title before we can go on people's property to clean up? Because I get asked that every day. I'm out on the move every day, and that's one of the questions. When are you coming to my house? I said, when we get all the city streets and the county roads cleared, then that'll be the last phase. But that is, now that's just not talk. That's reality now, isn't it?
No, that's the ROE, right on entry program. It happens every
Okay,
day,
all
the time.
right, well, that's it. Thank you,
All
sir.
All right, Chair recognizes Mr. Collinsworth.
Mr. Chairman, one thing I think, if it does go to FEMA, needs to be addressed. Some of the contractors that have given contracts to these people to tear these houses down include removal. And I think that would definitely be illegal if they now have charged for that and set it to the side of the road. Some of the people that are here helping people tear their houses down are not including anything like that. They're just trying to get it to the road. So that may be something that FEMA will allow, but if they have got it in their contract for the demolition and removal, then yes, I would definitely think it's illegal for them now to put it on the right of way, because that is double dipping. But a lot of the people that we have run into, that is not the case. A lot of the volunteer groups that are helping getting it out there have not charged anything but just taking it down. And I think that needs to be clarified with FEMA as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Novak?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I want to talk just real quick about right of entry versus the right of way. And I've talked with the DOT General Counsel multiple times over it. I know Danny and his team and their General Counsel. And the public needs to be clear. In terms of right of entry, you're accessing private properties of our residents. And contractors are given that permission to go on private property, or the owner gives on a person permission or license to come on the property. Short of that legal right to come onto the property, you need to have an instrument that gives the person the ability to come onto my property or your property. That's a right of entry. The right of way, we have access to the right of ways. That's where Ashbridge is doing their work, and within the city, the state DOT is doing their work, and the monitors are watching it. The right of ways are that common middle ground between the public access and the private property, and that's why they all have legal access to get to the right of ways. So what we're doing right now for public safety purposes is everyone has been told and instructed to take everything to the right of ways. Okay, and that way they can get there quickly, safely, and legally to remove the public safety issue, which is whatever's there, they're coming and getting as quickly as they can. In terms of a right of entry, for the public to know, they need to have an instrument where they tell a contractor, yes, you can come on my property, or a state or a county contractor, yes, you can come on my property. Short of that, and this goes to the issue of the houses, there has to be a clear, definitive answer, and it has to go to public safety. If someone drops a house, they drag it to the right of way, then there's a question of whose responsibility, where's the cost, where's the obligation lie. So that needs to be answered for multiple reasons, but most important, I think, for public safety, because what we're having now is 4 weeks and a day after the storm event, is you have more being piled up on the streets, and it's not a clear answer as to it's not a tree anymore, it's an asbestos shingle roof or siding. That has to be answered, and so we need the contractors to work with the county to immediately get that and get a public service announcement out to everybody. As you commissioners indicated, hundreds of people are asking us every day, where do I take it, what do I do? Right now, the answer is take it to the right-of-way, anything on your property, and each homeowner needs to work independently to try to work on their house and their issue. And once it's condemned, there's a permit that they go through the building department. They secure the permit. They turn off the utilities. There's a process to follow. There's people going in and out of these homes, and they're dropping houses at the same time. You have gas and electric and everything else. Again, a public safety issue. There's a process in place. I know the building department's turning out these permits as quick as they can, but we encourage the public to take it to the right-of-way. That is a ground in which they know they can legally get to this material. And then we'll get a public service announcement out once that's clearly defined as to right of entry.
Okay, all right.
And we'll request from FEMA an answer on that, but until, the safest thing, until we get an answer one way or the other, for a contractor to dump debris on the side of the road is a felony. You cannot take shingles off and put on the side of the road as a contractor and dump it. It's illegal dumping, and it's certainly, it sounds like to us it's not going to be paid for. We're going to request that it is paid for because we want to help our citizens get everything they can get. They've been devastated, but they don't need to do anything until we get this answer, unless they're going to pay to haul it off to a landfill.
All right.
And to the greatest extent possible, just try not to mix the debris. because it makes it hard on the contractors when your debris all mixed. And of course, you probably told them about putting things out in black bags. You can't pick up, material in black bags because you can't see what's in the bag,
Okay.
in other words. So, and a lot of people do that. They rake the leaves up, and that's what you have, so you put it in there. And there's issues about picking up that.
Okay.
Danny, I have noticed Long Avenue not starting to look better last day or so, so,
It's coming along.
yeah. It's gonna be an ongoing
It's a
process.
process.
People need to realize it's not gonna be gone in 1 or 2 weeks. It just ain't gonna
Just
happen.
not
No.
gonna I was in Katrina for a year.
Yeah, so.
All right.
If we could skip down to H while he's up there and the attorney's got an amendment to
Okay,
that
all right.
contract.
But while the attorney's passing that out, I'm still confused here. And I need some clarification, because if I heard right, all right, so you said if I hire a contractor to come to my house, and my house is, I need to have it torn down. I hire the contractor, he tears the house down. If he hauls it off, he takes it somewhere. There's nowhere in the county to take it, right?
That's correct.
So, and that was my question.
Have to take it to
Where
Bloodstown,
does-
or they have to take it to a laydown yard that's approved. Now, there are some approved laydown yards, but we're not in the landfill business. So, now, Waste Pro's supposed to take it at the transfer station. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but that's $65 a ton. It's $9 a ton at the landfill in Calhoun County. So I don't know of anybody that's gonna take a house down. I mean, you're talking about $40,000-$50,000 to pay $65 a ton to destroy a house. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about real money. We're not talking about nickel and dime stuff. To pay somebody, even if it's just $9 a ton, to haul it 100-mile round trip is gonna be extremely expensive. This debris contract, before it's over with, is gonna be $25 million we're talking about. It's not gonna be nickel and dime stuff. That's why it was a godsend that DOT took it off our plate. But again, we don't wanna get in a situation where we've got folks that have paid a contractor, they illegally disposed of it, and then FEMA's not gonna reimburse it.
Right.
So we're gonna get an answer. So right now, what we would tell you is this: if you wanna tear your house down today, you gotta figure out how to dispose of it properly. You cannot legally put it on the right of way till we get a go-ahead from DOT and FEMA, which we have been told no, but we're gonna request it again and get an accurate answer.
All right.
Yes, sir. That'd be perfect.
Thanks, sir. All right, who's running with H?
If I could get the guy that's handling the Cape contract on the road, just, what organization is that one? Just handling the roads at the Cape?
Yes, I requested her to be here, and I
She's not
don't,
here?
I don't see her here.
Okay. Have
At
you
the-
talked to
at the
them
first
about,
time.
are they starting some pickup out at?
I have, they're supposed to start next week, but I still don't have verification of that. That's why I asked her to be here at 10 o'clock this morning. She's not here, so I'll try to reach out to her.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. All right, Mr. Novak?
Commissioners, 2 weeks ago, well, shy of 2 weeks ago, one of our special meetings, I discussed with you our clearing and debris removal contracts. It's, I think, about 7.5, 8 years old. It was introduced to the county, and as Michael just spoke about, the state has taken it over the DOT. So it's a blessing that they're taking over the costs and their oversight of this contract. We've assigned that contract to this DOT. I'm working with the general counsel for the DOT, Eric Fenneman, and I've also spoke to the general counsel for Ashbrook several times. What's in front of you is a couple other items that they provided in their fee schedule, of items such as e-waste items and soil sand beach screening and eligible abandoned vessel removal and things that were not included in that fee schedule 8 years ago. They're here, and what we're working with the DOT, now that DOT is taking over the contract, I've spoken with Mr. Fenneman, and he is sending out a letter to the small counties that are dealing with this, and he is encouraging them, and we haven't received the letter yet, but my last conversation with him a day ago was he was encouraging the counties to review this, to vet the fee schedules, make sure the commission blesses it, and then sends that up to the DOT so that it's a county decision before the DOT takes on this responsibility. What I'd ask you for today is, this is the latest amendment from Ashbrook, which itemizes those additional materials and a cost per cubic yard or cost per unit. I'd ask for your permission and authorization for the administrator and the chairman to sign an amendment to the contract, subject to our review of the fee schedule. Also, a condition that it shall not exceed the numbers that are in front of you right now. They can only go lower. They can go no higher. And once we have that final clarification from the DOT, that I'll work with Mr. Hammond and Mr. Yeager and Chairman Quinn, so that we have this amendment we can send to the DOT. Again, this is their contract. This is going to be their fee schedules. It's going to be their payment schedules, but they want you as the Gulf County Commission to review it and make that final decision. So I'd ask for your permission to move forward and not to exceed what's in front of you, subject to attorney review.
Thank you, sir. All right, board members.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner McDaniel,
Second.
second by Commissioner Rogers. Any further board discussion on this? Anyone in the public on this? Anyone in the public? Come on up to the podium, yes, sir. Come on up to the podium. Please state your name and your address for the record, please, sir.
Thank you. Name is David Motil, Cape San Blas, 102 Dominica. I just want to make sure I'm clear, if we skip back to it or whatever, but on the debris removal, what is actually happening on Cape San Blas as far as it being done? You said a week or 2 weeks. Who's going to be doing it? It's not going to be these guys, right?
No, it's a different contractor that will be doing that, and Alan, you may
be able to speak to that some. I think y'all are doing the monitoring for also the state roads, and where they're referring to is the Cape San Blas Road, and was wondering when they're going to start doing some debris removal from that area. And most of that area is everything from white goods to construction debris. It's not necessarily trees, but most of it's that. So they're wanting to know when your contractor, the contractor for the state, is going to be on that state road.
Also, there's a lot on the main road, but I've also heard that if you have a garbage truck that comes down your road, they will eventually go down those side roads and pick that up. Is that correct? It doesn't have to be hauled all the way out to the main road.
Correct. Yeah, I'd have to get with the contractor to find out actually what their schedule is, but I know as far as our monitors, we've got monitors in place now ready for white goods, the cut and toss. So our monitors are ready, and I just have to get a schedule of.
When you say through white goods and stuff, so they're actually coming through and sort and pick out washers and dryers out of these piles of wood and everything else?
That's the reason I said they don't be mixed.
Yeah, well, it's kind of late for that, right?
Yeah, 'cause they'll have to pick each one of those out, televisions, and they're all paid different.
Yeah, so everything's mixed together totally out there. You're not going to see anything separated. Really.
So I think, Alan, if you could reach out to your contractor, the state contractor on who's doing the debris removal there, and ask them specifically about Cape San Blas. That's one of the areas that will.
So it may be another week or two is what you're saying, probably.
That was the last word I had, but hopefully it's sooner than that.
And I just want to make sure I was clear on the side roads too. They will come down the side roads if the garbage truck goes in there or whatever. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else in the public on this amended contract? All right. Any opposition to the motion? All right. Motion passed 5-0. All right. We'll move on. Item E, solid waste transfer station RFP.
My recommendation is that we notify Waste Pro that we are not going to take the automatic renewal. Our first renewal, we have to notify them this month. I would recommend that we go out for RFPs for the purchase of the transfer station and for solid waste services in the county.
All right. Entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner McCrone.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rogers. Any further board discussion on this? All right.
I've just got one other thing. I want to just give you a timeline before you vote, if that's okay.
Okay, yes, sir.
This is not going to be a quick process. This contract runs through May. I would expect that we will get the documents out in the next couple of weeks, that we will give the potential bidders a 4 to 6 week period. I would expect taking bids in early to mid-January and have a recommendation to move forward at your January meeting at the end of the month, because in the event you choose another contractor, this doesn't mean that you won't choose Waste Pro. It just you won't choose to extend under the current contract. But in the event, just like the last time that we transferred, it is a pretty good process. So we're going to need a 90-day process to transfer out. So that's my timeline, if that's good with y'all.
Yes.
So we got to May. May's the expiration of phase one.
Okay. All right, any further board discussion? All right, anyone in the public? Anyone in the public on this? All right, any opposition to that motion? Motion passes 5-0. All right, Mr. Joe Paul?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
Had a little bit of a roller coaster ride so far, haven't we? In front of you is a modified LHAP, which is our Housing Assistance Plan for the SHIP program. Just to give you a quick synopsis, if you would turn over to like page 11, where it talks about disaster mitigation and recovery. For the next couple of pages, we have actually had to do a technical modification of our plan because of the situation we're in. I have applied for the $750,000, which I feel is a very fair share of the $5 million that's in the disaster fund for the State Housing Initiative Partnership. Because of that, we had to modify those items so that I have enough money in there. I actually hope to do 10 houses. We have actually met with a gentleman in Lake City who will build these mobile homes for us, Zone 3, which will go in Gulf County, not within 1,500 feet of the coastline. We have actually 11 applicants right now that have totally lost their homes in the Gulf County area, and we're hoping to be able to do this. This gentleman can turn these homes out. If I gave him the go-ahead today, in 4 weeks I'd have 10 homes on the ground ready to be installed. His price includes delivery and setup with the exception of the permit. So we had to modify our housing assistance plan to enable us to do that, and then to increase our maximum in the disaster recovery from what was $19,000 to $70,000. That gives us enough room to do that. That is per qualified homeowner. This has been approved by Florida Housing, and I need board approval to ratify this and certify this local housing assistance plan, and approval for the chairman to sign this if you so desire.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, board members, entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion by Commissioner Rogers.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McCrone. Any further board discussion on this?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. McDaniel.
Thank you, Joe. Now, you said this is for the county, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where will that, you have the locations already?
I have submitted all the addresses to the building department to confirm that those homes are actually destroyed. We just submitted that yesterday.
Okay.
So I know they've initially said they were destroyed in their initial assessment. Now we need a letter saying they were. The people have to apply to FEMA, and if they get money from FEMA, then we have to use that money first, and then we'll subsidize whatever we have to do to put their homes. 10 of the 11 homes are in the Weewillhitchka area. And most of them are mobile homes that have taken pine trees right down the center of them. Canning Drive, Tennessee Street over that way on Red Bull. There are several homes there as well. And these are people that are low and very low income. 10 of the 11 are very low income. That means they make less than $25,000 a year if they've got 2 people, to $17,000 a year or less with 1 person in the household. We need to help them.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right. Any further board discussion on this issue? Mr. Joe Paul, I just want to ask one quick question in reference to the SHIP program. Like, for the people that, I mean, it don't have anything to do with this, but the ones that were already on your list, and they, I've been getting phone calls asking about when, I guess, when would the money be in for them, the contract to start?
The money is actually in the bank right now. They actually, Florida Housing transferred the money the second week of this disaster. The $350,000 initial money is there. Okay. We have the ability to use that money first to provide disaster recovery, but I'm not apt to do that until I'm sure that we have been approved for at least the $750,000. Those that were on my list that were actually approved prior to this disaster will still be assisted to the best that I can. Those that are in work now, that are actually, the contracts have already been awarded, those contracts are going on just like they've been going on for the Dawsons, Miss Williams and her mother. Those are still going on. We're still working on those right now, and the contractor, Raymond Dreisbach, is working hard as he can. R&D Construction has finished Helen Hamilton's house and actually getting his final draw today.
Okay, all right. So they just need to be patient.
Today.
Yeah, and none of them are gonna be, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not patient waiting until Florida Housing makes their mind up on this $750,000. I'd really rather have $1 million. But if I act too greedy, I know they're gonna cut me, so I'm trying to be as realistic as I possibly can.
I got you. Appreciate it, Mr. Paul.
And that's the people's, or state of Florida's money anyway, so I have to be kind of prudent with it.
You got you. All right, we
I
got
don't wanna be, but I have to be.
All right, we appreciate it. All right, so I got a motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner McCrone. Any further board discussion? Anyone in the public on this? Come on up to the podium and state your name and your address for the record, sir.
Robert Connors, 456 Madison Street. Is FEMA not going to be supplying trailers for these people that he's talking about?
This is a different. This is a
Well, I mean,
ship.
the people, the same thing. Is it not? The trailers having pine trees down in the middle of them and stuff? I mean, would FEMA not be responsible for taking that up?
FEMA will potentially provide those short-term trailers.
Right.
You know, but this is a long-term. This is a permanent situation. That's not a temporary.
All right.
Yes.
Well, what about FEMA? Is FEMA going to be supplying trailers down here for people that are low income?
Temporary.
We
have been told that that's been approved, but we haven't seen anything.
Right, that's what I'm wondering.
Right.
When
Now,
does that
now,
supposed to start?
I do know that they've gone to some houses to evaluate the site for some FEMA trailers, but I hadn't seen any, so.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we all got that same question. We're ready to see some.
Where are they?
Yeah. All right, let me carry this motion. All right, anyone else in the public? All right, any opposition to that motion? All right, motion passes 5-0, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, can we go back? I see Pat, and it made me think. I want Ben to give an update on the berm request that we have in, the temporary berm, and Mr. Yeager to give an update. We had a conference call with Mike Dombrowski a couple of days ago about the state wanting to potentially participate when we do. Looks like maybe after the first of the year, in the first quarter, do the renourishment process, want to participate in the state park area, Village of Rich State Park area, which will help the overall project. We'll get further north, and you want to lead it, Yeager, in that?
Sure. We had a conference call with Michael Dombrowski this week, I think probably Monday or Tuesday this week. There is a request from the state to Gulf County to ask if they could participate with us, which makes plenty of sense. You don't do but one mobilization. It will reduce the cost, would probably allow us to put more sand. Along with that, we're doing a request from FEMA for what we call emergency berms. This is one thing that we're asking for all of our beaches, but it also is one thing that FEMA will pay for in a Cobra area, so the Cape would not be restricted from these FEMA berms. We've requested upwards of right at 20 million. Ben, I think, was the number for these emergency berms. So if we could get the emergency berms, if we could get our project, the county project, and we could get the state project going at one time, it would certainly extend the project that we want to do for our beaches, and we're hopeful that that will move forward.
All right. Thanks, sir.
I was not prepared to give an update on this today. I will do some research, though, and get information to you.
All right.
I just wanted to bring it out that we are working on that, so folks don't, because it's just not the Cape. All the dunes at St. Joe Beach, Indian Pass, other areas were all wiped out. So we've included everybody, but with the state participating at Village of Rich Park, it helps the entire Cape because we get further north, and as Warren said, a lot more sand. So.
While we're talking about the beach, had a lot of questions about cleanup. I know in that amended contract, the beach was there. Are we moving forward with getting somebody to
excuse me. There again, that's going to be a right of entry. We have actually ridden all the beaches, and most of the debris that we see on the beaches now are pushed up into private properties, even pushed up into county properties at the parks. I actually rode that with a debris contractor this week again to see if there's any way that we could remove it without the, but most of that debris is pushed up on private property, so we're going to have to wait to get the right of entries before we remove that specific debris. That being said, we can do some initial cleanup on the beaches themselves, which the beaches in most areas look pretty good right now, other than some small debris, and I think we can do that with our existing contractor and clean the beaches up and make them look a lot better than what they do.
And in addition to that, just take Cape Palms Park, which has got 12 houses, basically debris in the park, got a car under the, all of those are going to be cleaned under the current contract as well. So, but anything landward of the ECL line on the Cape would certainly be, we'd have to have that right of entry.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, Mr. Novak, Industrial Park lease agreement.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you have, were recently up at the ribbon cutting for Cherokee Air at the Industrial Park. They have partnered up and are now in partnered up with another group. It's called Skyborne Technologies. Mike Lawson's pressing forward, as Mr. Yeager's reported to you, but they need to amend the current lease so they incorporate that new name, which is Skyborne Technologies, from currently Cherokee Air. But under the lease that we've written for them, I need your approval to amend that and assign that lease to the new entity and the new group. So I'll need a vote of this board, and I'll move forward and have them sign that and have the chairman sign as well.
All right, thanks, sir.
Strictly a name change.
So moved,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
All right, motion by Commissioner Rogers.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rich. Any further board discussion? Anyone in the public on this? All right. Any opposition to the motion? Motion passes 5-0. All right, Commissioners, y'all got anything before we get out? Anything? Well, I got one thing, and the gentleman came up and he talked about the FEMA trailers. I mean, if we can contact Brenda or whoever we got to, because I read it myself where the governor signed that. You know, so I mean, people want answers now. They want to see they want to see trailers. They want to see RVs on properties. You know, because we steady. I mean, time is steady passing. So we can contact somebody to find. We need a timeline when we're gonna start seeing some trailers, or when we're gonna start seeing these RVs. When we're gonna where we're gonna put them. I mean, we need to get some kind of information from FEMA saying something, because you know, people, like I said, people, they hurting and they need answers.
What I would suggest is that if we had any weak spot in the last couple of weeks, it has been with FEMA. There's been a lot of folks, some of my family members the same way, that get told something different every time they go down there. Number one, they have to register. They're just not going to drop out of the sky. The FEMA trailers, the actual FEMA trailers, are going to be the last resort. They try to steer people away. It's not going to be a good existence if it's more than just one person. It's real small, it's real tight, there are a lot of problems with them. But there are an array, including private folks, of potential things. They're giving folks, some folks, not everybody, but giving folks potential checks to actually go out and rent something if you can find something, or get your own RV if you can do that, if you can finance that and give them some money for that, or get you got private entities doing mobile homes. So there are going to be several different options for folks, but again, it's not going to happen if you don't go register, and you need to follow up with those things. But the last resort is going to be for folks to actually get what they call a FEMA trailer, one of these, you know, Katrina type trailers that are really small, and it's, you know, not a long-term solution. These are like 90-day solutions. So there are multiple options, but again, if we've had a weak link, it is the FEMA coordination and communication on things, from getting money to fix the roof or getting folks for temporary housing. So,
all right, any other board members?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Again, please, just my personal opinion, I am very displeased with FEMA. I've been to them and asked these same questions, and it's just like you have a car wreck, I get a sprained ankle, well, I'm going to sit over here, but you got life-threatening injuries, you need attention now, and people's had life-threatening injuries to where they're going to live. And we had the Honeyville, shelter there, and, it was abandoned Sunday morning at 10 o'clock was the last, and it was my understanding that there was 5 families, they were given a tent. A tent. Where FEMA should know this. They've been through enough of this that some people need immediate attention. And personally, I don't want anything from FEMA. Wouldn't take anything from FEMA. But people need help. They need help, and why they're dragging their feet up. 3 or 4 months from now, heck, that's going to be too late, you know. But I'm very disappointed with FEMA in there and trying to help these people. I am.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Come on up to the podium, sir. State your name for the record, please.
My name is Frank Day. I'm with Metric Engineering, and have been in emergency management services for some time. Normally, there is such a thing as a STEP program. Is anybody in here aware that's something that the county has to request, and you request it through the State Emergency Management Office in Tallahassee, to the SCOC. And what it does is like temporary shelter and essential power. If there is a house that is damaged, then they hire contractors to come in, and they will make sure that you have a bedroom and that you have a kitchen and that you have a bathroom. They're not going to totally restore a house, and they'll restore any essential power to it. It's a STEP program. It is a program that is out there. It is an option. It is something that you have to request. I'm familiar with it. I'm not familiar with Gulf County and the STEP program.
We got approved for TSA is what the acronym that we're under, and we got approved for all ranges of that. For actually where they give you the check and you go rent a place. The problem here is there's nowhere to rent. I mean, they're giving people checks in Bay County. The Bay County was the first one to be approved. We were second. We've been approved for about a week and a half, I guess. But to my knowledge, that program that you're talking about, we haven't seen anything that I'm aware of here. Ben, that you might can correct.
I'm aware of it.
Yeah. But the TSA, when you're talking about the temporary shelter assistance, that has been approved. The governor got that approved for us. We were second to get it about a week and a half. But as far as the actual going in and fixing homes, I haven't seen any of that. We've been approved for FEMA trailers. We've been approved for rental assistance.
Well, it may be an option. The state will have to decide to do that.
That's correct.
But they don't decide to do it unless somebody kind of pressures them.
Okay.
It is an option.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I could echo what Mr. McDaniel said.
Yes, sir.
We've got people in St. Joe that the houses, you ride by, the house looks fine. They had 4 and 5 foot of water in those houses. They're trying to live in those houses. And we have heard nothing from FEMA. We have seen no trailers. I'm very disappointed, as Mr. McDaniel said, and something's got to change. So.
All right, thanks, sir. Any other board members? Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Whitfield. Yes, sir.
I just want to give you a little quick update to support what I'm going to ask you for. Our calls are up just a little bit right now. That probably won't last due to influx of people coming in doing all this extra work. We really don't know how our resources are going to be later on in the year. But right now, we've lost 2 or 3 employees during the hurricane. We run a minimal staff, we run minimal trucks, and our budget is designed for filling the positions on those trucks. It's not necessarily the number of people, it's the position you got to fill. Right now, we're having to work our people overtime to fill those positions above the overtime they already had. We're having trouble getting some of those filled. And earlier in the meeting, you mentioned the moratorium on hiring. I'd like to request that you all give a waiver to EMS.
I didn't do a moratorium on hiring. I'm just talking about open positions, but EMS is different. So I have the authority with the chairman to do that.
I mean, it's costing our budget more, and it's putting a strain on our personnel.
Okay.
Another thing that we're dealing with is Bay Medical in Gulf Coast is closed. Gulf Coast just opened this morning, I think, with minimal services. Bay County is not going to open for 3 or 4 months at the minimum. the hospital here cannot do all the procedures that people need. So we're having to transport these patients now to Destin and Tallahassee. Sometimes they want us to go to Gainesville, which we haven't done yet. All the local outside EMS services, we tried to use one last night, lifeguard, and they was told that the people that run lifeguard and Century, they combined, have been told not to go out of their jurisdiction. Just stick with Bay County, Bay Medical's clinic out on the beach in Gulf Coast. So the only ones doing transport out of the hospital now is helicopters, which if you have bad weather, they can't run. Once in a while, Franklin County can help us out. But we're really getting in the strain and we need to replace these personnel.
Okay, all right.
You're good, Houston. Yeah, you're not.
Well, I just
you're
wanted
not
to make
in
sure I
the-
didn't need board approval before I talk to you about that.
That's fine. Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Houston, hold on one second. You said that the people that's lifeguard, that they cannot
Well, I haven't checked on that personally yet, but the hospital told me that they tried to call them last night, and they said they had direct orders from people above them to not do any out-of-town transports for anybody other than Bay County.
Is this not an emergency we're talking about?
No, these are emergencies, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, one other thing, being I've worked with EMS. We have all the contractors in here, people working. I get up in the morning and chainsaws in every direction, and you're gonna have accidents, and that's with all the extra people in here. They work safe, they have safe, but accidents do happen, so we gotta cover that.
We haven't seen that many accidents.
But there are, we had one there just the other day.
Doing the work have medical problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the hospital down here, they can stabilize, but they can't do anything else to them. They have to get them out. And a lot of them are citizens of the county too.
All right.
How are your ambulances holding up?
Well, we're getting a wear and tear on them too. We putting, instead of a 100-mile transport back and forth to Panama, we're doing a 300 or 400-mile transport. So,
Something we need to think about, and I spoke to Kelly. I know Mr. McDaniel had a TDC meeting yesterday, and we know that at some point in time we got to get back up and running. But to bring people into the county without medical services or able to, that's got to be talked about. You know.
And our crisis, I mean, we live in our little world. I went to Panama City Sunday, was the first time I'd been since a week before the storm. They got a mess.
That's right.
And with Bay Medical out and Gulf Coast is pretty much out. I think you might have the emergency room open, but that's only, I mean, that's, you know, got a couple 100,000 people and no hospital. That is massive. And again, like Houston said, instead of running, you know, a 2-hour round trip to Bay County to take a transport, we got to take them to Tallahassee or to Destin, Pensacola. That's all day ordeal. So I mean, it's we're going to be down Bay Medical, talking about down to after the first of the year. So we're going to need to be careful about those things. That's
Absolutely.
exactly what you're talking about.
we're turning out a lot of the non-emergency transports to these facilities, but the critical ones we have to go ahead and do. And as karma would have it, when you do that, you get 2 or 3 calls right after it. So,
All right. We appreciate it.
we just want to make sure we
Yes, sir.
go ahead and restaff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Any board members? All right. Mr. Yeager?
Just one other thing, Mr. Chairman. I had a conversation with Mr. Stuart Shope this morning with St. Joe Gas, and they're still having issues with people tearing down homes without getting locates. And this is causing a major problem for them, for their staff, and actually is unsafe practice and illegal practice. Just wanted to remind everybody, you need to come in and get your permit for demolition, and that you need to get a locate for all your utilities. Just wanted to pass that on, and we need to get that word out as best we can.
And on the county side, I've asked the building department, if it's a contractor, we're fixed to get serious with them. We're gonna pop them, wind up putting some in jail if they keep doing what they're doing without getting their proper licenses. We're requiring them, it's a minimal permit, I think most of them, 99% of them are gonna be $50, but it's to make sure that they've had their utilities cut off and that they've got their proper license and workers' compensation. But we got a lot of fly-by-night bad folks in here that are taking advantage of older folks, and breaking the law, and somebody's gonna get killed if they keep doing what they're doing. So in the county unincorporated areas, we're gonna start popping them.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, we want to thank everyone for coming out to the special meeting. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I have one public speaker.
Okay, I'm sorry, my fault. All right, yes, sir. Mr. Paul.
Dr. Pat Hardman.
Okay. Apologize, Dr. Hart.
I'll be very quick. I concur with you on your FEMA issue. They don't need tents, they need some temporary house, or some housing. A lot of my subs and my tip folks, their workers are not here. They can't even come back. And so it's prohibiting movement of going forward, and they got nowhere to live. And so you can't tell somebody to come back to Gulf County and live in a tent and to be able to work. So they are unemployed and can't live here. So I concur with you. The other problem I have is that Cobra has raised its ugly head again. Bad, big time. Everyone I know in the Cobra areas who have tried to get FEMA disaster loans or the bridge loans have been denied. Why you're denied for a loan when you've got the financial means to do it, I don't know, but it's happening over and over. So we aren't getting FEMA registrations and what have you anymore for about 2,500 people in Gulf County that would be registered, which will impact your bottom line when you get there. I mean, these 2,500 homes, not everybody's rich out there. I mean, serious. Michael brought us to the knees, but Cobra's kicked our butt. And basically, bottom line, could cripple the residents and the full-time residents and the businesses in South Gulf County. We've got to have some bridge to get help. I know the staff's been working on this. I'm fully aware of that. But we've had people doing research, and they are telling us that was one surefire way to remove Cobra right away. And the person has the authority to do it in an emergency situation, and that's President Trump. And by executive order. And now we just got two good friends elected, I believe, Governor DeSantis and Senator Rick Scott now. I'm going to say governor. He's governor now, and he'll be senator. Anybody make a call on them and say, pick up the phone and call the president and say, we need relief and we need it fast. It's worth a shot, fellas.
Absolutely.
To tell you the truth, 2 weeks ago, we had Senator Rubio, the first time I ever known him to come to Gulf County. He sat at my office and eat candy. He liked our candy. And we told him that because we had just been told that an SBA loan for a business at the Cape had been turned down, and he was shocked to hear that. We also talked to Governor Scott, came a dozen times probably, and so he understands the issue, and we're going to get him pushing on it. He also understands this, and there's going to be a lot of controversy whether they feel or don't feel that cut. They're not eligible to get their 75% from the federal government on that either, which is a massive chunk for the states to follow the money on that. So that means that's $25 million or more.
I appreciate it, and I know you are, but I put it out there. They were all busy during election time, and they were running for office. Now they aren't. One telephone call might take care of a huge issue here for us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Hall.
you. Thank everybody for everything that's been done.
Yes,
This is a long haul. I'm seeing people getting now more depressed because they don't understand it. This is a long haul y'all going into. And God bless every one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
Thank you. All right, anyone else in the public before we get out of here? All right, I entertain, once again, thank everyone for, hold up, what we got? All right, Mr. Midnight?
Yeah.
Come on up. Come on up to the podium. Come on up. Come on up. Ms. Roberts gonna get on to me if you don't come up to this podium.
Yeah, I just want to make everybody aware there is a long-term recovery committee meeting. It's a group that's forming tonight. We'll be at the First United Methodist Church at 5:30. Again, it's long-term, so they're not going to give you any help right away. But in order for you to get some levels of funding down the road, we have to form a group. Sometimes it becomes a 501c3. That takes too much time, but the United Way of Northwest Florida has agreed to be the fiduciary for that group. So we just need key people involved in and interested in that process to be in attendance. And that's really the key thing. I will add, she said something about SBA. SBA does give household loans, and I know some people that have actually are closing on up to $200,000. You wouldn't think the Small Business Administration would do that, but I know at least one person I talked to yesterday, she's doing her closing this week. So that some people are getting the money to rebuild their houses. So it's worth go ask again. Don't take no for an answer. And just let me give you one update. Our businesses are rebuilding. I've been out around Port St. Joe, and I haven't talked to everybody, but I've been around. 142 businesses, 90 of them are open, so that's 63% were open yesterday. Indian Pass, we were 0 for 2. There's nobody open. Cape San Blast, I went by 18 businesses, 15 of them were open. That's 83%. Simmons Bayou, I didn't do so well. There were 10 businesses I saw, only 2 were open, 20%. And the North Gulf County, they were at 96% of their businesses are open. So I haven't done St. Joe Beach, but I guess that's not going to be a very high number. So that's what I got.
And the Cape's got 50% of the gas stations on the south end. The Cape and White City's the only one that got gas. So that's
yeah. I mean, I walked into that Beach Planet shop. You thought you were in the middle of Panama City Beach. They were ready for business. It was brand new. They got great clothes. I need to go back and go shopping.
Hey, Michael, Gander did get the pumps put in.
They do.
So you can get on the card, you can get gas at Gander's now. So.
All right, that sounds good. Gas at Gander, okay, all right. All right, nothing further. I entertain a motion that we adjourn. Hold up again. Come on up to the podium. State your name once again, address for the record, please. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
All right, my house is 2 feet under. I got 2 feet of water in it. I want to go ahead and re-sheet rock. I've cut it out. It's been drying for weeks. But I'm being told that possibly I'm going to have to raise the house now. I mean, is that... Anybody know about that, as far as having to raise the house?
You can get with the building department. If your house was not substantially destroyed, you will not be required to bring it up. If it was destroyed more than 50%, it will have to be.
So 50% of the appraisal cost?
Of the value.
The value of the house. So if my insurance pays me more than half of what the house was worth, then I have to raise the house up. Is that correct?
I'll let you get to Lee. Insurance doesn't have anything to do with that equation, but he can tell you if you have.
Yeah. Get with him after this meeting.
Yeah.
He'll give you all the information you need.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We appreciate it. All right, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner McCrone, second by Commissioner Rogers. No opposition, motion passed 5-0.